Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia Martinez. I'm here today with Tim Stay with the Other Side Village and the Other Side Academy. Tim, so nice to see you.
Great to see you, Lydia.
So we have noticed that as we've been out and about in the community, talking to business owners in the area around where we want to build the village, and we've been talking to residents and we've been talking to stakeholders within that area, we're getting a lot of questions about what are the requirements for people that want to come and live in the Other Side Village. Are there expectations? Are there limitations for who will be allowed to take up residence there? And so I just wanted to have that conversation with you about who will the residents be and what requirements will they need to meet to actually have a home in the Other Side Village?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we certainly understand people's concerns. They want to be in a place that's safe. They want to make sure their family's protected, and we very much understand people's concern about this. And what we can bring to the table is that we've got a track record of having a community that people generally have been afraid of, being able to be in the middle of a community and having it be safe, having crime lowered around us, and being able to really become good neighbors. And that's what our plan is to be at the Other Side Village.
Yeah, so you did all of those things at the Other Side Academy right in downtown Salt Lake City.
Yeah, we're on the east side, not just off the avenues, and we have close to 100 former felons and addicts and criminals living here, and we haven't had one incident of crime of our students in the surrounding neighborhood since we've moved in 6 years ago. Crime has gone down. We do regular patrols of the neighborhood, and it's been able to really increase. We've beautified some abandoned buildings and recovered those. So our plan is to do a similar thing, and one of the secrets of how we can do that is by this culture of accountability that exists within the Other Side Academy. We see that existing within the Other Side Village as well.
So talk a little bit about what that accountability piece will look like for the villagers.
So there's a couple of parts. One is who gets into the village. Most neighborhoods have no say of who moves in and who moves out.
Yeah.
We'll be different. We'll be able to screen and filter out those who are bad characters, those who could be dangerous to others. We'll be able to filter those out and only accept those who are really committed to changing their lives and being part of doing something different than they've done before. And so that will be one way to bring about that safety and that accountability is who we let in. We're not going to let in sex offenders. We won't let in arsonists. We won't let in people who aren't looking for a permanent housing solution. We won't let in people who aren't chronically homeless. Who we will let in are people who've been in the Salt Lake area, who've been homeless for a year or more. We understand that a large majority of them may have physical or mental disabilities. And we're setting up systems to be able to accommodate and help those people who have those challenges. In reality, 100% of our students will qualify under the ADA as a disability. Someone who's chronically homeless qualifies as a disability.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really are creating a community of people with disabilities that want to support and help each other.
So let's define chronically homeless for those that don't understand, because there is an actual definition or a kind of a litmus test for what that means.
Yeah, it's, in simplest terms, it's someone who's been homeless for a year or more, or periods that add up to a year or more. And there's further definitions, there's governmental HUD definitions, but we don't want to be tied down to a real strict definition. So if we need to have a little interpretation one way or the other, that we can
Yeah.
do that if it's right for the person and right for the community.
Well, and that seems to be the key in what you're saying. It's right for both the individual and it's also right for the community. And those two things have to exist for them to be a candidate and a good fit for the village.
Yeah. So imagine in your neighborhood, if you and a group of your neighbors were able to interview people before they moved in and said, would this be a good neighbor? Would this be someone who would be wanting to keep their place up? Would this be someone who would want to abide by the social norms of the area? And that's what we'll be able to do. The residents that are in the village will be able to be participants in the interview process and be able to say, I'm comfortable having this person move in next door to me. And we think that will really create a tight, cohesive neighborhoods within the village. And then within those neighborhoods, that's where a lot of the accountability will take place. So if I become a resident and I'm leaving my garbage spewing all over the lawn and around my house, my neighbors are going to call me out on it and say, hey, Tim, we all chose to live here. We invited you to come in and live here, but we didn't invite you to come in and make this place a dump. Clean it up. Let's, take care of this stuff. Or if I'm out you know, if someone in your neighborhood at 2 in the morning is out there making a lot of ruckus, yelling, the normal situation is to call the police, call the authorities, bring them in, have them deal with it. In these neighborhoods, we won't have to call the police. We'll be able to have the neighborhoods deal with an issue, and they can say, Tim, you were keeping us all up last night at 2 in the morning, and be able to deal with it. As we talk about reimagining policing, this is one form of where we really will be employing a form of restorative justice. They call
Mhm.
them circles in restorative justice,
Yeah.
where one person gets to be aware of how their actions influence those around them. And the circle is their peers or the people that they've impacted. So we'll have these neighborhoods. Each neighborhood will essentially be a circle where the neighbors can deal with most of the problems. We really believe that, just like at the Other Side Academy, we've never had to call the police to deal with an issue. Just at the village, we think we can be able to deal with most of the issues internally within the community, within the neighborhood, and that will avoid, escalation of problems that sometimes happen when authorities are involved.
Well, and I think that one of the things, as we've been talking and learning about homelessness and the causes of homelessness, a lot of times in the definition, it's the catastrophic loss of family or community. And so rebuilding that family or rebuilding that community to help you improve and help you grow and help you be better and help you integrate, that is the differentiator here. It's not just, hey, we're giving you a house, we're giving you a family and a community.
Yeah, we really see that people move in, um, that this could be their home for the rest of their lives, and this could be their new family, and this could be the support. When we visited Community First in Austin, which is a large 400 home community, one of the most touching things is when someone passes on, the whole community comes together. They celebrate that person's life, and it is so meaningful because many of the residents say, one of my fears was that I was going to die on the streets and no one would care, no one would notice, no one would pay attention. And so these kind of funeral processions, and they even have a place in the community, which we will too, where they can memorialize these people.
Wow.
Someone knows them by name, someone cares that they were on this earth, someone cares that they left this earth, and that is so meaningful. That's such a powerful
Yeah.
um, part to building this community, that you're known, that you're loved, that you're cared about. And part of caring about is when you're acting out, getting called out on it, just like
Yeah.
in a normal family.
Yep. Absolutely. I was very touched by that as well at when I had the chance to go and visit Community First. And I also was struck by the fact that as you walked through the village, the Community First village there, people were on their porches. They were greeting each other by name. They had communal places for gathering so that people weren't just isolated in their homes. And that is what community is. It's having a chance to gather and know somebody and connect with them on a deeper level beyond just the day to day.
Yeah.
Um, so some of the concerns as well that have been brought up to us are we just see this village as something that's going to really increase crime in the neighborhood. And it's going to impact people wanting to come to my business. It's going to impact my property values. So what are some things we're doing to make sure that that does not actually come to fruition?
Well, first, the evidence at Community First, again, 400 homes, similar in size to what we're contemplating eventually. Um, that just hasn't been the case. There hasn't been an increase. Our parcel, we're separated from any adjacent neighborhood. There's some industrial area and then Redwood Road before we get to the first neighborhood. In Community First, they're directly a fence. They share a fence with an adjoining neighborhood. But there hasn't been one incident of crime by the neighbors in the surrounding neighborhood. It just is an orderly, safe place. The other evidence is what we've done here at the Other Side Academy. If you look at, we have a crime comp stat report from the Salt Lake Police. We looked at a 10-year period in this one block surrounding the Other Side Academy, and you can see crime going down from the time we moved in to the current day. And again, none of those crime was brought about. And that's a different story than some of the homeless resource centers or things like that, where you have seen crime increase. We can understand people's concern, but our history and our evidence isn't. And part of the way we do that is by the accountability, by neighbors holding neighbors accountable. So if you take care of the little things, then the big things don't escalate into, and you don't create this culture of chaos and mayhem. So it'll be a very structured, orderly environment. Some of the things we're going to do physically is we're going to have it be a gated community. So just like any gated community here in the Valley, you have the residents can come and go. They'll have access to come and go, but the people who visit them will have to check in. They'll have to get a clearance, and they'll have to sign in. We'll know there. So, that's to protect. So there aren't people coming in trying to, do drug deals or do, cause other problems. So it won't be a magnet for bringing other people into bringing this. It'll be a controlled, secure community, and a lot of that is to protect those within the village from potential predators who might see this as an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the other things that is interesting is when people are when people that have been homeless are given access to mental health services, they're given access to medical care, they're given access to some form of employment if they want it and are able to do that. A lot of the other things that become problematic on the streets tend to go away.
Yeah, we visited a remarkable community in Spain called La Fageda. They're north of Barcelona in the Catalunya region, and they've been around for about 40 years. They have close to 200 people on their payroll that in their community that helped them run a very successful yogurt making business.
Mhm.
And well, they have about 400, and about 200 of them have mental challenges, mental difficulties. Many of them were homeless. Many of them were suffering from addictions. And they've come in and been able to um, work and produce this very successful social enterprise. And the data shows that as they stabilize their housing, as they stabilize their routine, as they stabilize, their medication, actually the amount of medication these individuals were receiving dropped. The amount of episodes dropped.
Mm.
The amount of suicides or related deaths dropped. In all these areas, they were able to stabilize, create a just a beautiful community. To anyone who ever has a chance, they welcome visitors there, and
Yeah.
it's just an amazing place. And we hope to bring that into the Other Side Academy with the supportive health services, with supportive mental health issues. We're even planning to have a veterinarian office where veterinarians from the area can come and help take care of the pets that many of our neighbors are going to have. So
Yeah.
we're trying to find all the ways that we can help bring that stability and that mental health component to what many have struggled with and haven't been able to stabilize. When you're on the streets, you can't get you often will miss taking your medication. You might not make it to the doctor's appointment. You might not be able to refill that prescription. Being in a stable place, all of those things can start to happen.
Well, and I think there's one type of crime that isn't talked about quite so much that I think the village will also help curtail, which is a lot of crime is kind of homeless on homeless crime. And so people on the streets harming other people on the streets.
Yeah,
And
there very much is. The majority of those homeless are really those who are most victimized. There are some predators among them, and that's who we would be screening out and trying to keep out of the village. For many, that's why you see them have encampments. A tent encampment, because then they can create a
there's some
protection for safety. They will cling to someone who can help protect them, and that's what we believe that we can do, is help bring some of the most vulnerable into a safe place. And that's why we're excluding sex offenders. It just wouldn't create a safe community if we allowed
yeah,
them to do it.
yeah. Um, so let's touch base briefly on the fact that the village is intended to be, um, it's intended to be a clean village. So talk about that some, Tim, because I think that's another component, right?
Yeah, we talked a lot and thought a lot about this, and as we looked at the available housing in the valley, um, the, there's great housing that's provided by Salt Lake City, by Salt Lake County, by other nonprofit organizations, and all of them allow for uh, they have a tolerance for personal drug use within, as long as it isn't spilling out, as long as you're not impacting others around you. And so that option is available on the market today. If someone wants to go into permanent supportive housing and continue using and can keep it under control, that those options are available. What we didn't see anywhere on the market is having a sober community where um, if someone's going to live there, they have to make the commitment to not continue to use drugs and not to be using alcohol. So we're creating it a sober community, and we think that will allow them to have the best opportunity to progress in their capacity and um, their abilities. And that's one of the things we've really learned at the Other Side Academy is every individual has just tremendous capacity and potential, and some of our students have squandered that. Some of our students have unrealized capacity.
Mhm.
But when we give them a safe, stable, sober environment, you just see the most amazing talents and abilities emerge, and it really is something really beautiful.
Yeah. Um, and so how do we take somebody that has been living on the streets and has an perhaps an active addiction, whether it's to drugs or alcohol or both? How do we take them and help them transition into a place like the village?
That's a great question. We're planning a transitional period, and we're calling it the Welcome Village, where people can come in, even with an active addiction. If they need help getting detox, we'll get them into a detox facility. They can then come back into the Welcome Village and 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 get that. But we deal with that often at the Other Side Academy. People coming in, they've been using up until the day before, and go through that transition. You know, if they need medical assistance to go through that detox, we'll certainly make that available. But
Yeah.
part of it is not just dealing with the transition from using to not using, but it's the transition from starting to live a scheduled, orderly life. You know, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of um, um, uncertainty that from living on the streets and being able to be in a stable place with people around you, learning how to trust and feel safe there. So that will all be part of the Welcome Village.
Yeah.
Some of the concern that we've heard from neighbors, and again, we understand it, is, well, if someone doesn't make it through the Welcome Village or doesn't make it through the village, you know, are they just going to be out roaming roaming the streets? And we don't foresee that, because, you know, if someone isn't making it, we're going to have a real high touch with them. We're going to be talking to them. We're going to be exploring. You know, if you're still struggling with drugs, let's get you into a drug program. If you're still struggling with different things, if this just isn't right for you, let's find a place for you that will be right. You know, someone who moves into a home and has all their stuff in the home isn't going to bolt one night and leave everything behind. We're going to have conversations with them saying, you know, it doesn't look like this is a fit for you. You know, where can we help you move to? And so,
Yeah.
and then, and
What
we'll
are the resources? How can we help support you if it
yeah,
is no longer a good fit or isn't a good fit initially?
absolutely.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think that's a very genuine question of people that are concerned about the village not just being another transitional place where people might just get kicked out and end up back on the street again.
Again, looking at the data from Community First, they've been around for about 6 years. 80% of the people who've moved in have never left. That's home, permanent home for them. So there isn't a large churn of people moving in and out. The other 20%, some have moved on to better, bigger housing. You
Yeah.
know, some have gone back to the street saying, I'm not able to live in such a structured environment.
Yeah.
But in each of those cases, there those were discussions and conversations, and they were able to help place them. They just didn't walk out the door and wander
It
through the
was it
neighborhood.
was ultimately the decision of the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for this very in-depth conversation with me. We're trying to really actively answer questions that we're getting and be transparent about this process. So, for anybody listening in, if you do have any questions or there's something that you feel like we're not addressing, please do pop it in the comments or reach out to us. We'd love to try and get you a great answer and really help you understand what this village is intended to be. And again, Tim, thank you so much for your time today. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.